What if I told you that Ferrari has bet its destiny in Formula One on a duo that many considered broken? What is hidden behind keeping Riccardo Adami with Lewis Hamilton in 2026? And how risky is this move for Maranello? Ferrari has officially announced that its car for the 2026 season will be called SF26, and although it may seem like a simple continuation of a naming tradition that goes back decades, that label contains a profound contradiction. The SF, acronym for Scuderia Ferrari, accompanied by the corresponding year, is part of a visual identity that connects each car to the prancing horse heritage. But behind that continuity in the name, what is brewing in Maranello is anything but predictable. The SF26 is the spearhead of a radically new concept. Internally named Project 678, this car is the result of a total restructuring of Ferrari's technical thinking. From aerodynamics to the chassis approach, through the weight distribution concept and suspension architecture, every component has been reconsidered. Instead of continuing to iterate on the previous model, as is usually done in F1 to reduce risks, Ferrari has decided that 2026 will be the year to break the mold. This is not an evolved car, it's a reinvented one. The date chosen for its presentation is no coincidence. January 23, 2026, on the legendary Fiorano circuit, the same asphalt where the Scuderia's greatest successes and failures have been tested. That day, both Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton will take the wheel of the SF26 for the first time in a brief shakedown. This action will be more symbolic than technical, but loaded with expectations. Just 3 days later, from January 26 to 30th, the car will face its first big test in the private sessions in Barcelona, a silent prelude before the media noise of the official tests in Bahrain, scheduled between February 11th to 13th and 18 to 20. This statistic is not only painful, it is a call to urgency. For Hamilton, for Ferrari, 2026 is the turning point. There is no room for another year of transition. The SF26 is not just a car. It is a declaration of technical war. It is a manifesto of redemption. And even more so, it is a desperate attempt to return the Scuderia to the place that its history demands, before its legacy continues to be buried under the shadow of McLaren, Red Bull, or Mercedes. And this is where this block gains its true narrative weight. Because we are not talking about a simple new car. We are witnessing the forced rebirth of a historical power that can no longer live on memory. The SF26 is a metaphor, tradition in the name, and revolution under the hood. Will this double side be enough for Ferrari to return to the top? Or are we facing another project doomed to collapse under the weight of its own expectations? That is the question that will mark the entire 2026 season. Within the hyper-competitive universe of Formula One, the synergy between driver and race engineer is one of the most critical and often invisible links. It's a relationship that can build championships or ruin seasons. In the case of Lewis Hamilton and Riccardo Adami, that connection has become one of the most controversial points of the Ferrari team in the transition to the 2026 season. Throughout 2025, the relationship between the seven-time world champion and his track engineer was the subject of constant analysis by the specialized press, former drivers, and especially the millions of fans who follow each radio exchange. From the first Grands Prix, a lack of mutual understanding was evident, which resulted in erratic tactical decisions, unnecessary arguments, and on several occasions, obvious frustration on Hamilton's part at receiving incomplete or poorly timed information during key moments of the race. The dominant narrative in the media pointed to an imminent breakup. The tensions were too visible, and a restructuring in the Britain's garage seemed logical. In fact, many expected Ferrari to appoint a new race engineer to accompany Hamilton on the SF26 project, especially considering how crucial 2026 will be with the biggest regulatory change since 2022. But against all predictions, Ferrari confirmed that Riccardo Adami will continue as Lewis Hamilton's race engineer in 2026. And this announcement has been received with a mixture of surprise, disbelief, and concern. From a technical point of view, the decision has an internal logic. Changing engineers at the threshold of a new regulatory era could entail more risk than benefit. The team believes that forcing stability is preferable to facing a new learning curve, especially with a driver of Hamilton's stature who is already adapting to a completely new culture and car. Fred Vasseur and the sports management have bet that, with time and work, the relationship can be redirected towards a functional collaboration. However, outside the pit wall, the perception is very different. Many see this decision as a strategic error. Hamilton is known for having a very fine sensitivity with his engineers. At Mercedes, his success was closely linked to the solid relationship he had with Peter Bonington, Bono, with whom he shared almost all of his world titles. Changing environments and encountering a technical and communicative profile as different as Adami's has been a shock that is difficult to conceal. For some, keeping him is condemning Hamilton to another year of mismatches and lack of confidence in key decisions during races. Additionally, there is a question of internal leadership. These types of decisions are also a message to the rest of the team. At a time when Ferrari needs maximum unity, an unspoken division between driver and technical environment can erode morale. There is already talk of a garage divided in two, Leclerc with his consolidated and comfortable group, and Hamilton struggling to find harmony in an environment that is still foreign to him. And while it is true that Ferrari cannot afford to improvise, it is also true that the SF26 project demands perfection in execution. It will not be enough to have a competitive car. Coordination between team and driver will be decisive in a championship where McLaren, Mercedes, and Red Bull will leave no room for error. The most worrying thing is that, if this commitment to continuity fails, the consequences will be immediate. Ferrari's prestige will once again be exposed. Hamilton's patience could wear thin. And the new beginning narrative could transform into another season of disappointments and internal conflicts. This seemingly technical move is actually a symbol of something deeper. Ferrari's eternal dilemma between tradition and adaptation, between established hierarchies and the need to reinvent itself. At the center of that tension is Riccardo Adami. And its permanence, beyond the telemetry figures, represents the riskiest decision that Ferrari has made for 2026. Will this be the year where understanding finally flows between Hamilton and Adami? Or are we facing a time bomb with an explosion date marked on the calendar? That is the question that everyone in Maranello asks, but that only the asphalt can answer. The 2026 Formula One season will not be another on the calendar. It will be the beginning of a new technical era marked by a profound regulatory change, and for Ferrari, it represents much more. It is a historic opportunity to restart its sports project with the power of a team that, despite its symbolic weight, has been dragging inconsistencies for years. And that change begins with the SF26, a car that should not only be competitive, but also the symbol of a long-promised rebirth. The preparation schedule for Ferrari has been designed with unusual aggressiveness. Following the official presentation of the SF26 on January 23 in Fiorano, the team will quickly move to private testing in Barcelona between January 26th and 30th. There, in the intimacy of closed-door sessions, they will evaluate the integration of the car with the drivers and fine-tune each system, from aerodynamics to energy management. Just a few days later, the car will be exposed to public scrutiny during the official tests in Bahrain, divided into two blocks, from February 11th to 13th and from February 18th to 20th. This compact and demanding schedule means that any design or reliability errors must be corrected in record time. But beyond the schedule, what really raises the tension is the context. In 2025, Ferrari experienced a disappointing season. Fourth position in the constructors, no victories, no podiums for Hamilton, and with a Leclerc who could barely sustain the pride of the Scuderia with individual performances. This poor performance not only set off internal alarms, it also deteriorated the external perception of the team. Every year that Ferrari does not fight for championships increases the pressure on its technical leaders, its drivers, and its very identity. With Lewis Hamilton on board and the SF26 as the emblem of this new era, Ferrari knows it cannot repeat the mistakes of the past. It's no longer just about building a fast car. It's about building a structure that works under pressure, that responds strategically, and that allows its drivers to maximize every opportunity. The margin of error is zero. McLaren dominates the scene with a solid duo and an exceptionally balanced car, while Red Bull, despite its internal turbulence, remains a latent threat. Mercedes, for its part, has rediscovered competitiveness with George Russell and its young promise Kimi Antonelli. The competition does not give up. The SF26 is more than a car. It is a declaration of intent. But it can also become the symbol of a broken promise if you don't live up to it. At this point, the question is no longer whether Ferrari has what it takes to compete, but rather whether it has the mettle, cohesion, and leadership to win. Decisions such as keeping Riccardo Adami alongside Lewis Hamilton go far beyond the internal dynamics of a garage. They talk about a management philosophy. Bet on stability even when the results do not support it, or change and take risks in the hope of generating a spark. That's the fine line the team is walking right now. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.